You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. You know, I know a lot of people want Lance Lynn off the team, just as much as people want Mike Clevenger off the team, and some people wouldn't mind seeing Michael Kopech move to the bullpen like myself. But like when you look at this rotation, Ed, you would still have 60% of the rotation completely iffy, right? Because right now there's only 1 out of 5 that you trust, and his name is not Dylan Cease.
Who would have thought it wouldn't have been Dylan Cease that you would have been trusting this time of year? You'd be sitting there going, I don't know what to do about Dylan Cease. I mean, I could understand sitting there going, hey, Lance Lynn looks like he might be at the end of the road here, and I can understand Mike Clevenger didn't pan out.
And I can understand the Kopech thing, too.
Yeah, actually, I can.
There were signs that it was possible that he wasn't going to be a frontline starter and maybe at best a 5th starter. And if everybody else was going along really well, if we had several guys in the rotation that were going deep in the games, you'd be able to put up with Clevenger, and your bullpen would be able to cover for him, and maybe he just wouldn't be a guy that goes very deep into games, but he's a 5th starter, essentially a long reliever that starts games. If things were going well in other places, it wouldn't affect you so much. But, I mean, like, this is the hand that we're dealt at this point with the team, and this is a team that should have taken 3 out of 4 at minimum from the Royals, and they couldn't come close to it. So, I mean, it's extremely disappointing because you see the possibilities. I mean, Yoan Moncada's coming back this weekend. If he hits, that's good news.
Right.
If he doesn't, then whatever. I mean, look, he's better than having Hanser over there at third base, I think.
Oh, exactly, yeah. I mean, and Jake Berger, he's going to go on a rehab assignment. There's always some positives to be taken here and there. I mean, Yoan Moncada could come back. He could hit. He could look like the guy from the World Baseball Classic. Remember that? Remember we were so excited about how he looked?
I know. Then we got like a week of him or something like that, right? Or 2 weeks?
Right,
I don't remember how many weeks we got. It wasn't a lot of weeks. And then he was injured.
Weren't enough weeks there.
If this White Sox team wanted me to believe they were going to dig out of the hole that they dug themselves to kick off the season, I expected 3 out of 4 from the last place team in their lowly division. And instead, they lose 3 out of 4. They dug the hole deeper. So, as we say at the beginning of every show, it still holds true even more today than maybe yesterday. Fire Rick Hahn, fire Kenny Williams, fire Chris Getz into the sun for lack of player development, and Jerry Reinsdorf, please sell the team. Let's just get it out of the way. And you know, if I would have bumped into them on the field at guaranteed rate on Wednesday, I had decided I was going to say it right to their face. What's the point of doing it on the podcast if I'm not going to say it to their face? But I did get on their field on Wednesday. It was incredible. That's the first time I've ever been on the field at the rate.
Yeah, well, it's not like it happens all that often, right? Where they let fans on the field. I mean, once or twice a year, 1 or 2 events.
Well, I didn't get in because of the White Sox. I got in because it was a Miller Lite event, and then I was the guest of Cork and Carry at the Park, the wonderful, amazing, proud sponsor of Sox in the Basement that got me on the field, got me in the dugout, got me batting practice at this event.
Batting practice.
I got the field fly balls in center field where Luis Robert stands. Like, I had a blast, man. I brought my glove. I was like a little kid. I was throwing, just throwing the ball around in the outfield, just warming up before the event got started, where everybody's going to get some batting practice and fielding some fly balls, and I could walk through the bullpen and the dugout, and I've got all kinds of cool stuff that I saw, and I got to check out where the scout seats are. I know I brought that up on the last show, not even knowing I was going to this. Like, I found out on Tuesday night that I could go to this, and I just got rid of everything on my schedule. I laughed. My wife was like, "Oh, we got to go. What about the kids? And they've got games." I'm like, "Ha ha ha ha! I'm not going to be there. There's no way I'm passing this up.
It ain't happening.
The kids can stay home from school and miss a game. I don't care. Like I don't care what happens to the kids tomorrow. This is Dad's Day tomorrow. Like I'm going to the ballpark, and I think every single one of you would have done the exact same thing. But I got in there as the guest of Cork and Carry at the Park. Make sure that you're out there pregame. Just an incredible spot for pregame, and you can bring the family by, get some good food. They just have just such a high level of cuisine that they put out for essentially a pub. that has an incredible bar, an award-winning menu, the spirits, the wines, all kinds of craft beer on tap, and then afterwards it's a big party, win or lose. Sox fans come together in the shadow of the ballpark at 33rd and Princeton. But I was there. I was a guest, and I got to go to this event. It was really for I think it was for bars and restaurants that sell a lot of Miller Lite. I think that's what it was, right? So
right, yeah. I mean, Miller Lite's picking their guys that are making them money.
Right, but I mean, I met so many people there that didn't work at a bar or restaurant. They were the guest of the owner of the bar or the restaurant that got brought along. So I wasn't the only one that was in there. And of course, I put the Sox in the basement shirt on because I can't help myself. I'm like, well, I'm taking pictures.
You have to.
Yeah. And then I just kept getting worried I was going to get hit in the back of the head by somebody when they realized I was in the building.
Well, you didn't drink Joe Boo's rum, so I wouldn't worry about that, right?
Some of the things that I noticed right away. In fact, one of the things that really stuck out to me, like in my journey, I walked around and looked at every crevice of the ballpark that I could from field level. I went into the bullpen. I went into the White Sox bullpen, and it is interesting to me that they have a flat screen TV in there where they can watch the game live. I didn't know. I mean, they're out there right now at any game at the rate. And if Steve Stone starts yelling about Aaron Bummer, the rest of them are sitting there listening to it. Like for a moment, I thought to myself, maybe they should unplug that and take that away when the team's not doing well. Because if you're watching the commentary of the game while you're sitting in there waiting to be called to take care of the guy that's struggling on the mound, that could mess with your brain, don't you think? But they have it. It's like there's like a little side room that has like buckets of like chewing gum in case they want to chew gum and buckets of sunflower seeds. And it's like this little hidden area that's underneath where the pitchers are standing. It's like a little room off to the side, but they can sit there and be looking out on the field and then look off to the right and listen to and watch replays and stuff like that and hear the commentary during the game. And I was like, it's such a high pressure thing. Why would you want them to listen to some of the stuff that might get under their skin? Am I crazy for thinking that?
Well, I think it's probably there not so that they can listen to Steve Stone criticize them. It's probably more so that they can see how the strike zone is looking and how batters are reacting to certain things and get a better feel for it. Because let's face it, from the outfield, from that perspective, whether you're on the field or not, it's a little bit harder to see what's going on. And frankly, if Steve Stone is saying that Aaron Bummer's leaving the ball up and he's going to get hammered if he keeps doing that, I don't think that that's going to get under the skin of the other relievers because they're probably sitting there going like, yeah, Aaron, listen to Stoney. If you keep leaving the ball up, you're going to get hit. Oh, well, there it goes. It's one of those where I don't think that they take that criticism and sit there and go, I better do better, or I got to do it. I got to do it differently, or Stoney's going to say mean things about me. First of all, some of them probably, don't pay attention to the audio anyway. They may not have the audio on. But the other part of it is that I just imagine that even if they do hear it, they're probably sitting there going one of two ways with it. One, it's Steve Stone. If he's saying something's messed up and you got to do it differently, maybe listen to the guy. He kind of knows some things.
It's like an extra coach.
Yeah, he really is. And two, really, even if they're critical of the bullpen in general, they're critical of the team in general. I don't get a feeling that this team is so self-unaware that they don't realize that their ERAs are bloated and their whips are really bad and they're giving up too many hits or walks or stuff like that. My guess is that they're probably hearing it not for the first time.
I just thought it was interesting that they could watch it back there because I didn't see another TV in the visitors' bullpen, and there aren't TVs in the dugout. So I just found it interesting. There's a group of players that are sitting there watching it. And like, I'm sure there's TVs down in the clubhouse and there's video review and all that other stuff. But like the live feed that's on television that we're watching, the idea that there's at least a group of Sox players in the bullpen theoretically watching that at the same time we are. That just kind of fascinated me. What also fascinated me was that the dugouts in the bullpen, like you think that it's going to be some fancy thing, right? I've seen like Park District dugouts and bullpens that are fancier. Like they're sitting on like old dirty folding chairs out there in the bullpen. The dugout, I never got this, but the dugout like steps are just beat up wood and some benches that are like crudely just screwed into it. And then the actual bench that's up against the wall where you see players either sitting on them or they're sitting up on the top of the chair with their cleats down there. Like, first of all, they rip apart the material. Like, there's holes. Like, the thing, it looks like it's 80 years old. And they're probably redoing the upholstery all the time because of their cleats. And then you can't see anything on the field. I tried to sit as tall as I possibly could. You can't see anything on the field unless you're up at the top step. I thought that was interesting. Like, a lot of these guys, they sit and they look like they're looking out at the field. But in reality, it doesn't line up very well to do that. Now, maybe a guy who's, 10 inches taller than me, and some of them are, can see some of it, but they're having a hard time viewing the entire game, even when they're sitting up there. That was also something that struck me. I always felt like when you see them like sitting up on the top of the benches and looking out on the field, they're doing that because they have a clearer view of it and that they can see everything from their dugout. There's a lot of obstructed view when you're in your dugout, which kind of shocked me.
Well, they did that so that they could justify charging the players less for their tickets to the game. Maybe that's kind of a nod to the history, right? The dugout is supposed to be this dirty, crappy place where, you're not really all that comfortable because you're there to play a game and win a battle, damn it.
But that's what it was like. And to me, it was strange. Now, on the other hand, I had an incident. Before I tell you about the incident.
Oh, wait, you had an incident?
I had an incident that I'm a little embarrassed about. And in my mind, I'll never be able to watch a White Sox broadcast or look at the dugout in the same way again. But
what did you do?
Before I get into it, I want you, if you're looking for an exterior window, door, patio door, storm door, I want you to make your first stop Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. They're not coming into your kitchen or your living room and using some high-pressure sale tactic and telling you this is the price until I walk out the door and bringing you these tiny, dingy little examples. No, you go into the showroom. There's no pressure. They show you everything, nothing in magazines and books and catalogs. It's right there for you to see and for you to pick out and see in examples inside of their large showroom out in Oak Forest. Owners are in showroom. Owners are on site. All their own installers that work for them. They've been around for 40 years in Oak Forest since 1985. Everything's custom made so it fits perfectly. They're a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. Learn more at windowdooroakforest.com. So at this event where there's batting practice, right? And I got to go in there and hit. And I got a new batting practice guy. Like I was his first victim.
Oh, okay.
Like Danny Pasqua was out there throwing and his arm started to fall off, I think. And he was like, that's it, I'm done. So they bring in some other kid to throw. And he was just somebody that works for the Sox. And everything he was throwing was at my knees or below my knees, likely not even crossing the plate. Like I kept backing up and trying to swing because I want to hit something, right? Like I'm not taking pitches.
That's the whole point. Yeah, you're not taking walking practice here.
No, I want to hit something. I'm never going to get to do this again. That's what's in my mind. I'm going to get 8 pitches and I want to make contact. And all I'm doing is basically fouling them off or hitting like weak grounders because I'm falling out of the box. And I'm not a very skilled person to begin with, right? I didn't play college ball. There were a lot of guys there that played like college ball. And I was like, and they could hit. There were guys that were at this thing that were hitting them to the track. Nobody got one out during batting practice. And all I was proud about was that the last one, which unfortunately is not caught on camera if you watch the social media, because then they were taking pictures instead of video of me. The last one, I hit a legit single. Okay? I want to say it would be a double if I was fast, but for me, it was a legit stand-up, trot into first base, make that little round single that there's no way, however deep Tim Anderson's playing, that he gets to that drops in the gap in left center field. It was a rocket off the bat. Last one I hit, rocket off the bat. That's all I wanted.
What was your exit velocity?
I don't know.
What was your swing angle?
I don't know what it was, but it was a rocket. It was probably at the perfect angle for a home run, but I'm weak, and all I was going to get is a single. Like right now, I would think that if the White Sox signed me, I could at least deliver a Romy Gonzalez level of hitting. Okay, I could do a Lenin Sosa level of hitting right now.
So is that like just above Billy Hamilton, or is that?
I don't know. I mean, Billy might be able to produce more because he can lay down a bunt and he's got speed, and I don't. Right? So I mean, I'm just saying where I would probably fit. What I'm saying actually is, like, if you ever play 16-inch softball, and you used to be able to just kill the ball, and then you get to an age where now they're catching it in the outfield. And then you get to that point where you're just hitting those dinks, like right over for base hits. That's what I'd be. I'd be a base hit machine. Nothing but singles is what I would be. Singles and strikeouts. My 3-2 outcome would be single, strikeout, hit by pitch. That would be my 3-2 outcome. So, I looked
real
ugly
new
out
age
there.
Adam Dunn right there for you.
I looked ugly out there compared to some of these other guys. But anyway, they had food there, they had beer there, and so there was a point where I just went exploring, and I just wanted to kind of take it all in. And they made a rule, like you couldn't bring food or beverage on the grass, but you could bring it into the dugout. So I go and stand in the dugout. And I decide after I'm there for a little bit, I'm going to stand right at the top step. I'm going to stand where Tony La Russa has stood. Pedro Grifol stands right now. And,
does it say Tony and Jerry slept here? Jerry Manuel and Tony.
We'll go with when Ozzie Guillen was standing there when they were winning a World Series. Like I'm standing right up there on the railing where the manager stands. And I'm leaning there with my Leinenkugels, okay, because I wanted to have a summer shandy because it was a beautiful day. And I'm leaning there with it in both of my hands. Both of my hands, clutched in my hands, and I'm looking around the ballpark. And as I mentioned earlier, when I was out there playing catch, I was so in awe of where I was at that every once in a while I would just sail a throw. And then I'd apologize to the guy. I'm like, I don't know, man. I just looked around as I was throwing the ball, and I lost track of you because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm standing on the field. Like I was such a little kid. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm standing on the field. Like I would just forget how to do things because I was standing on the field. So now I'm standing there and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, look at this. This is where like Ozzie Guillen stood, in 2005, right? Like there were moments here where he's standing there and I'm looking around the stands and I'm imagining the place packed and like I'm zoning out, right? And I'm just in that moment. And in that moment, as I'm doing it, I completely forget I have the beer in my hand and the beer starts to slip and I grab it real quick and I spill beer all over where Pedro Grifol sits. I spilled beer in the dugout.
Oh, no.
I mean, I soaked it, too. I dropped a half a can of beer.
Oh, no.
Right in the dugout. Nobody saw it, too. It was amazing. Like, everybody was looking towards the field. They were doing batting practice.
Well, thank goodness you're not saying anything about it on the internet.
I totally spilled beer in the dugout. If you ever look at a game now and you see Pedro at the top step, Chris Lanuti spilled beer there. And I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Every time I go to a game, I'm like, I spilled beer right there. I spilled it on the railing. I spilled it on the seat. I made an absolute mess of myself. I tried to wipe it off my glove, and then I just walked away real quick.
That's...
I mean, like, now maybe they go on a winning streak. Like, let's say they get back home, and they go on a streak, right? I want to take credit for that because I spilled beer in the dugout.
Well, that's when the playoffs start. You need to go back there and spill beer in the dugout.
Right, but if they lose, you can't blame me because they already lose so much. See, so to me, it doesn't hurt me to say that I did it, right? And they're probably never letting me back in again. So, but I just zoned out and I was looking around. Next thing you know, so Pedro's going to be standing there at the next game going, this smells like summer shanty.
Yeah. Hey, it's fruity yet hoppy. Well, no, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. You could have been zoning out in the bullpen and dumped it on their TV, and then they go to turn on the TV,
right,
in their next home game, and they're like, "Hey, why is this working? What's going on? We can only get WTTW on this thing now. All of a sudden,
the bullpen view.
This episode of Nova is great, but we kind of need to hear what Steve Stone has to say about Aaron.
Listen, the bullpen view is incredible. When they sit, I can't believe that I'm shocked that they all don't just sit out there. I know that most of them do. They should just sit out there on that bench where it's outdoors. That's a great seat right there. I wouldn't sit in the little like dugout part of the bullpen unless, of course, I wanted to see what they were saying on TV, or I just wanted to hide from the crowd. Otherwise, I'd be up on that. I
think those are the two reasons, right? You're looking at something on the TV. You're hiding from the crowd, or the weather is just absolutely terrible and you just don't want to be out there. Right,
something like that. And from the dugout, I will tell you that they can see, if you're sitting, like, you don't really understand, like, what can they see down there, right? Because it's just, they're ball players and they're playing Major League Baseball. And, like, there's always that fan thing in you that you just kind of look at and you go, they can't see me. Yeah, they can. They can see your signs. I guarantee you right now, if you're sitting in any vicinity of the ballpark, if you're in the 300 level from about where the numbers start, I think right around where like Appling and Baines are up there. If you're out there with a sign in the 300 level or you're yelling in their direction, especially on a day game, they can see you. They can see your signs. You don't realize how much you're on top of them until you're down on the field and you go, wow, people are really on top of you when you're on this field. It is a thing, And now other observations that I had, there's no consistency in the outfield wall. There are a couple of panels of the outfield wall. This is what a nerd I am. I walked along and I just started banging my shoulder off the wall. I want to know, like, does it hurt? Right? I hit one section.
You wanted to see if you could Eloy yourself or if you could Aaron Rowan yourself.
Well, I went and took a picture by the thing that says the catch where Dwayne Wise made his play. Yeah. I went and took a picture. I had to be there. I had to go stand there. I had to throw my glove up. I had to pretend like I jumped for it. People are probably looking at me out there like, look at that weirdo trying to take a selfie of himself jumping up against the wall. That was me. I didn't really care what anybody thought. You didn't ask somebody to take the picture for you? You were selfieing? No, I was selfieing myself.
Oh, God.
Sox in the Basement listeners, do the hard work. And if you're a hardworking man or woman on the South Side, you need to be outfitted properly. And that's why you should visit Red Wing Shoes in Evergreen Park, New Lenox, and Geneva. A work boots specialty store that carries sizes from 6 to 16 and feet as wide as 4E. A 115-year-old company that came out of Red Wing, Minnesota. And one of its largest stores in the entire Midwest is in Evergreen Park, Illinois, ever since 1976. When you're on your feet, the footwear is everything. So why not get an expert fitting? They warranty, repair, and offer free conditioning with laces. And they also carry Carhartt work clothing as well. Located at 3347 West 95th Street in Evergreen Park, Illinois, at 208 East Maple Street on Route 30 in New Lenox, or at 1749 South Randall Road in Geneva. Visit them today. You work hard. You've earned it. Red Wing Shoes. Parts of the wall have a lot of give to them. Like in left center field, it almost felt like it was hollow, like I fell into it and it kind of bounced back, right? But in like dead center field, it's like you're hitting brick. It's such a difference, and it's weird to me that there isn't the same consistency.
Well, but isn't center field? Aren't there doors and stuff back there? Like, isn't that the part of the wall that opens, and then everything else is just padded over the chain link because they were afraid Aaron Rowan was going to like grind his face off running into the fence?
Well, yeah. Well, it's all pads out there, and they had the doors open for the event, so I was checking out the parts that weren't part of the doors. But I mean, there's really no give there. And there's really no give out in right center. There was only one area where I felt like a lot of give in the, like it was done differently in that section. And then like the bullpen bar now, what is it? The Miller Lite Landing down there on the field. The fencing has like no give. But then in another section, like when you're in the patio area or when you're over by where the bullpen is, there's all kinds of give. Like you could fall into it and it's like a cushion. So it was weird to me that there's like, it depends on what section of the wall you run into as to whether or not you're going to bounce off it or have a debilitating injury. And like, that was a thing that kind of hit me. I was like, why don't we have all sections of the wall be like this?
Which one? The debilitating injury part? Or
no,
not
the debilitating. We don't want debilitating injuries. We're trying to cut down on injuries. What I'm saying is that like in my non-scientific walking around the warning track by myself, looking like a weirdo bouncing into the wall, I just found differences. Because I'm out there trying to figure out why are these guys getting hurt so much. That's what I was there. I was at a fact-finding mission when I was out at the ballpark. I was going to learn everything I could that they won't tell you about the ballpark. That's what I was running around doing.
Well, did you try and jump into the net to see how soft that landing is?
I jumped into the net. I can't believe I didn't get yelled at. I walked out into the corner and looked around like a little kid, like, are they going to notice? And then I jumped into the netting in the corner to see if you really do fall back out of it. I was like, oh, yeah, you do. Like they're going to watch security cameras and I'm going to be on a list where I'm never allowed near the field again. I was trying everything out.
You were already on a list. How you got in there was a miracle in the first place.
Now, also something that I learned, I didn't understand it because I'm not somebody who's ever been in scout seats. Like I think we all see the scout seats and we go, I wonder what those would be like. And they're really expensive. And I learned a few things about them.
From what I understand, they're pretty amazing.
Well, no, I sat in them, and here's the thing. The first couple rows, there's people's names on the seats or on the trays next to them, and they have individualized trays. Like, these are the elites. They're in the first couple of rows, it looks like. That's my guess, looking at the names that are printed right there on, like, their seat, like on the tray that's next to it. Like, this is so-and-so's seats. And then as you move your way back, they don't have the little trays, and it's almost like there's two different classes of even scout seats because some get the funny trays and some don't. But you have that thing that's over the entrance, and it's like the pitch speed and clock and all this stuff that's up there. They got like some equipment up there in the netting. When you're sitting there, it will block your view. Like I sat down in a seat in the scout seats, and I'm thinking to myself, like somebody's going to spend $300 some for this seat or more. And you sit there and you look over, and I can't see third base. I can't see third base, where the third baseman be standing because there's a big piece of equipment there. So I did find that to be kind of interesting. And then I always had the impression that the bar was directly through that tunnel. Like, you know how you see people walk down and you've always seen pictures of the bar? They'll always be like, oh, get scout seats and there's a bar there. Well, it's not right there. You actually have to walk through a little tunnel, past the umpire's room where the umpires are at. I saw where Kenny Lofton crawled through. I saw that area there. You actually walk through that. And remember when Kenny Lofton went and got the bat back for Albert Bell in the 90s and he crawled through the ceiling? You could actually...
Actually, I thought it was Jason Grimsley. I thought they sent a pitcher to go do it.
I don't remember. I thought the folklore was Kenny Lofton. Whoever it was. Somebody went through. You actually walk through right in that area where the umpire room is, and you see where they probably climbed through the ceiling above it and everything else. But anyway, you go out into the tunnel area, and the tunnel area connects all the locker rooms or the two clubhouses. So you may run into a player or an umpire or something like that, but then you got to walk 100 feet or so down into another room. Then you walk through that room where the bathrooms are. Then you eventually find the bar. I was like, if I ever went to the bar during the game, I'd miss a half inning to an inning of baseball. So you're kind of reliant on the servers. I never got that till I was down there. Like, Dad was like, do you want to be in the scout seats or do you want to be in that 200 level club that's right behind home plate? Because he told me for my birthday that's what he wants to do. And I was like, that's awesome. Go to a game with Dad, do something we would never do inside the ballpark. And after seeing the scout seats, I'm actually leaning towards the thing that's in the 200 level now. Because I was like, we would never, except for at the beginning or at the very end, I would never go use all the cool things that are back there because I wouldn't want to miss an inning or so of baseball. So I picked that up when I was down there as well. Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I guess I am a little surprised by that because you do think of that as being like the ultra premium seats, and doesn't sound like it's very intuitive. It's just kind of cool because you're in the scout seats, man. I mean, it's that section.
The netting felt thicker. Like, my view felt like, I was really annoyed by the netting and I'm not as annoyed by the netting when I'm down the lines in the lower deck. It just, everything felt more clumped up. So yeah, it was surprising to me, you know, it was like, I was like, oh, the seats are really comfortable. You know, you are right there on the action. But on the other hand, I was like, I don't know. Like I had my doubts about it when I walked out of it. I mean, I don't want to besmirch it. In fact, to be honest with you, I met this wonderful gentleman who's in charge of the entire 300 level, and I was trying to fix the ballpark for everybody.
Oh, good.
I was coming up with ideas. He was sitting there and he was asking me what I think, because I told him where our season tickets were. And I was like, we always want to come down to the 100 level to get the hot dogs. And he goes, why? I said, because you cook them differently on the 100 level. You cook them in the onions. They're a little burned. It's a ballpark dog. Like that's the kind of dog I want. I don't want the perfect one that looks like it was like boiled, you know, that they all look the same. I want my unique, partially burnt in the onions ballpark dog. And the only place I can get that is the 100 level. And he looked at me and he was like, I don't think anybody's ever explained it to me that way. That makes sense. I actually came up with the idea that they should use the ramp that's in the back behind where the Vizzy bar is. It used to be the Revolution thing that's down
right.
Yeah, down the left field line there in the corner. I was like, there should be access from the other levels, or at least maybe even the 300 level. There's a ramp back there. You guys should open it up so not everybody's trying to get down to the 100 level just to get back up within the bar. And he's looking at it and like he's saying, I don't know, it might make sense. Like I was planting ideas, Ed. That's what I was doing. Or I'm going to get this poor guy fired because he's going to go in and he's going to give all of Chris Lanuti's ideas and they'll be like, you're out. Get out. Just get out of here.
Well, he'll give all these ideas and they'll go, these are really excellent ideas. And he'll go, I got feedback from this great fan, this guy named Kevin Latuna, Chris Lanuti. That's it. That's the guy.
Out. Get out. Get out. You're right gone. Now.
Out.
Get out.
Get out. In fact, you're never going to work for a Major League Baseball team again. We're calling all 31 other teams.
Yeah, go take a walk someplace else, my friend. You're no longer needed here. It'd be best for him to just keep his mouth shut and deny that he ever met me.
We know Jake Diekman got another job, but you're not getting another one.
Overall, though, I'm going to tell you, it's really cool being out there. The grass is beautiful. Everything it's soft under your feet. You're on a playing surface. I can't describe any other kind of playing surface like it. I got to go stand over in the infield and kind of spread some dirt around at second base and pretend that I was a baseball player for a few minutes. I mean, it's just the whole thing was just absolutely extraordinary. If you ever get an opportunity, somebody ever says, hey, there's an event and I got an extra pass, I can get you on the field. Go take it. I mean, go out there and go see it. It's eye-opening Like, exactly what they can see, where they're sitting at, how their view is, the communication that's probably going on the field with everyone, just the whole thing. It to me was just extremely eye-opening. And then I had my one legitimate hit, caught a ball in center field, and walked home with a 10-foot smile. And it was awesome. Now, a guy who's returning to that ballpark before we get out of here is Jose Abreu. And our look at Jose's return is brought to you by the Village of Lamont. Want to experience a downtown with real history, great eats and drinks, and green spaces filled with adventure? Visit the Village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore. Their 150th anniversary is happening this summer. They got a 3-day thing going on, including a big festival in June. So many events coming up, a barbecue festival. Learn all about it at lamontdowntown.com. And they're going to be doing one of those video packages and thank you, Jose things. And it struck me as he deserves it. 100%. He deserves it. I don't care how his season's going. I don't care about what happened when he was here, that the White Sox didn't really do anything. I don't think that was on him. That was on the front office. That wasn't on Jose Abreu. On the other hand,
they haven't exactly done anything since he's left either.
No, they haven't done anything since he's left. On the other hand, it will be weird to watch a video package where there isn't a massive moment that you're sitting there saying, oh, this is when Jose Abreu hit his 400th home run, or this is when Jose Abreu, helped win that playoff game, or this is when they won a series, or they don't have a lot of that, do they, in his time, because of how bad they were and how much they fell short over the last couple of years.
Yeah, you're not going to see a lot of, you're going to see a lot of Jose Abreu hitting home runs, getting a clutch hit. You'll hear, you're going to hear some Hawk, you're going to hear some Benetti, you're going to hear some Len Casper, you're going to hear some Farmio, calling these big moments that he's had that were ultimately small moments because they didn't amount to anything in the grand scheme of things of the team being really super successful. And it's kind of an old story in Chicago sports, really, if you think about it, for a lot of teams, but the Sox in particular. You really just have the 2005 roster that you can sit there and say you have that moment of, Konerko's grand slam or Scotty Pod's walking it off or, whatever. With Jose Abreu, it's going to be just a lot of those moments where when you were at the ballpark or you were watching on TV or you were listening on the radio, and it was a Thursday night game and Jose had something clutch happen, or, it was a Saturday night game and he led you into the fireworks or something like that. It just, good moments, clutch moments that as a fan you enjoyed at the time. But yeah, it's going to be weird because you're not going to see him holding up a trophy. You're not going to see him really with anything that you sit there and go, that moment was indelibly etched in my mind, because as you said that, I'm sitting there going, I can't remember a single Jose Abreu moment. I can just see him in the batter's box. I can picture his swing, and I know that he had moments where you sat there and went, Abreu, yes!
Yeah, right. That's all I have. There's not going to be a moment where, he catches a ball over at first base and there's, a massive celebration and everybody's jumping around. That'll be missing from the package. And that's
right.
That's on the front office.
He doesn't get the Josh Fields moment for the Mark Burley perfecto.
Right, exactly. That's on the front office. That's 100% on them. Now, here's one other thing I want to ask you before we get out of here. Prediction. I believe, and I'd have to ask Sox Nerd next week if this is true, I believe he's been hit by a pitch by every Major League Baseball team except for the White Sox. Right? Wouldn't you think so? Doesn't he get hit? He gets hit by a pitch.
Nerd would know that one.
Right? Hasn't he been hit by a pitch by, I would guess, if somebody held a gun to my head and they said, has Jose Abreu been hit by a pitch by every team in Major League Baseball? I would say probably. I would say,
I would feel like that's a distinct probability.
He takes a lot of hit by pitches. Maybe there's an outlier out there, but
maybe, yeah.
It would be, it's almost like an inevitability. He comes back to his own ballpark, gets hit by a pitch. It wakes him up out of this terrible funk since he started the season. And then he has a walk-off. Well, he can't have a walk-off, but he has a big moment for the Astros, the way that the White Sox are playing. That's what I'm kind of expecting this weekend.
Well, let's face it. He's facing White Sox pitching. He doesn't need to be hit by a pitch to be woken up this weekend.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.